Now, News 24 and Afriforum. I want to be unfiltered about this because it deserves as much unfiltered treatment as the treatment News 24 has been giving Afriforum. Afriforum's response was immediate and pointed. The head of the most patriotic organization maybe in South Africa, Kallie Kriel, called it a witch hunt, a false witch hunt, and said News 24 has now joined hands with Julius Malema in an attempt to cast doubt on Afriforum. Strong words by the big man, but here is the thing about strong words. Sometimes they are accurate. And no, I'm not saying this because Kallie Kriel and I are friends. Not at all. He's posted me on Twitter a few times and everything. I'm good buddies with his man Ernst. But that's not why he said that, and that's not why I agree with him. Here's why. News 24's investigation claims Afriforum made more than 1.6 billion rand, right? From what? From members and donors between 2019 and 2024. And then apparently they spent nearly 60% of expenditures towards employee salaries and marketing rather than direct project delivery. You want to search more about that, you can check News 24's website. I'm going to do my best to show you some screenshots of what I was reading as well.
Well, there you have it. News 24 has now even teamed up with Julius Malema in an attempt to cast suspicion on Afriforum. These anti-Afriforum activists at News 24 apparently do not learn from their mistakes. Every time they launch an unfounded attack on Afriforum, they should know that they strengthen Afriforum and further expand Afriforum's support base. I want to thank them for that. They further undermine News 24's already damaged credibility. They've also had to make numerous apologies to Afriforum. The eagerness of a group of anti-Afriforum activists in the media to attack Afriforum results in the fact that they make one mistake after another. Consequently, News 24 and other media outlets have had to apologize to Afriforum dozens of times for publishing lies about Afriforum. It is a devastating blow to a media organization's credibility when its journalists are caught red-handed, acting as anti-Afriforum activists who deliberately publish falsehoods. There's a huge contrast between Afriforum and News 24 when it comes to transparency. The media and civil society organizations have an important role to play as watchdogs in holding government accountable and ensuring transparency. It is therefore important that News 24 and Afriforum set an example by being transparent ourselves. The facts are, however, that while Afriforum is open about its income, its expenditure and achievements, News 24 refuses to answer important questions about its own finances. The contrast between Afriforum and News 24 is clear. When Afriforum was informed by the Department of Social Development that News 24 had requested access to Afriforum's financial statements, Afriforum decided not to oppose the request. Afriforum instead saw it as an opportunity for the public to see how the organization spends its money and to review the hundreds of successes Afriforum has already achieved. Afriforum is proud of this and also of the fact that the organization has received a clean audit every year throughout its 20-year existence. In contrast, News 24 has flatly refused to answer any of the questions Afriforum sent regarding its financial statements and their salary structures. Among other things, News 24 refused to explain how it can justify the fact that its parent company donated 8 million rand to the ANC in the recent past. This while the ANC is responsible for corruption and mismanagement to the detriment of everybody in the country. They also refused to give answers why the company of which News 24 forms part officially stopped publishing its financial statements in 2021.
Now, on the face, that sounds damning, right? How dare they? 1.6 billion rand, only 2 rand in every 10 rand on actual projects. That is the headline News 24 wanted you to walk away with. Just like how they wanted you enraged about Bokkie until you realize they were wrong about everything. But let me ask you something. What exactly is a project for Afriforum? Afriforum is a civil society legal organization. Its primary work is the people. Lawyers, researchers, communications professionals, policy analysts, the work they do, taking governments down, taking them to court, monitoring municipal spending, running crime prevention units in communities, managing the refugee legal program, that work is done by people on salaries. They get paid to do that. It doesn't sound bizarre to me. I don't think people can waste so much time out of their days to do things for free. The salaries are the project delivery. You don't see me submitting videos to different people for free, do you? Saying Afriforum spends too much on salaries is like saying Sama Sambit is a mean guy for charging people to have his video on their channel. How on earth does that mean? That's like saying if I want to make a song with Jay-Z and then Jay-Z sends, all right, here's the fee. I'm like, oh, he's too cruel. What do you mean? It's his living. How on earth do you expect him to live? And here's the part that News 24 did not address in this investigation. Naspers, the parent company of Media 24, which owns News 24, donated 8 million rand to the ANC between 2021 and 2025. That's what News 24 doesn't want to tell you about. They are quick to say, but look at Afriforum. They spend 2 rand in every 10 rand on projects and the rest on salaries, as if that's not what they're supposed to be doing, paying the people who do things for them. But Afriforum said, you know what? You want to play Uma Exposana. You want to play Let's Expose Each Other. Let's play it. You donated 8 million rand through your parent company Naspers to the ANC between 2021 and 2025. To the governing party of South Africa. Want to explain that, Mr. Angel? News 24 publishes investigation after investigation after investigation into civil society organizations that oppose ANC policy. Kriel specifically asked how on earth we can trust the objectivity of a media outlet when its own parent company is financially supporting one of the major political players.
Unlike Afriforum, News 24 has refused to make its financial statements public, even after we requested them to do so. The question is why News 24 is being so secretive. The questions that News 24 is now raising are old news, and Afriforum has already responded to them comprehensively when Julius Malema questioned Afriforum's finances. News 24's investigative activists apparently missed this. So if they are really seeking answers, they can watch the rest of this video, in which I again give the facts. Let's start off by comparing, on the one hand, Julius Malema's financial management and that of Afriforum. We all know that there are serious allegations of corruption against Julius Malema. His name was mentioned at the Madlanga Commission with regard to a security tender fraud. Also with regard to the VBS looting, where money of poor people was stolen, Julius Malema was accused. Also with regard to the on-point corruption scandal. If you look at Julius Malema, he lives a luxury lifestyle, he wears designer clothing, and now he has the audacity to accuse someone else of stealing. But let's get to the good news. In contrast, Afriforum is very proud of the fact that for the past 20 years, since our inception, we have had clean audits. As a non-profit organization, we don't have shareholders. So we have to focus our money on our goals, on achieving our goals. Of course, this is measured every year by SARS and the Department of Social Development. We hand in reports to them. And for the past 20 years, all these reports were accepted. Let's look at another contrast. While Julius Malema plunders, Afriforum builds. We know that Julius Malema tried to build once. 7 years ago, the EFF and Malema promised that they would build a school. Nothing came from it. Not even 2 bricks were placed upon one another. In contrast, what Afriforum builds is visible for everybody to see. But to do this, there's a lot of pressure on us because we see a rapid decline in public services. We see an escalation in crime. So we have to do more. We have to do it faster. And that, of course, places pressure on our resources. Our expenditure is focused on two main areas. A core principle is that we have to build strong, self-reliant local communities. That is the best buffer against the growing state failure. That is needed because we are seeing a decline in municipalities. Just have a look around you. If you live in Johannesburg or in many rural areas, it is a place that you don't really want your children to grow up. We'll see crime. We don't want to fear for our lives. And that is why Afriforum spends money on this. But also there's broader corruption. So Afriforum has to play a watchdog role. Not only against corruption by the ANC, but also the abuse of power, the maladministration we are seeing, the decline in the criminal justice system, and of course threats to language and cultural rights. We need to spend more. We are thankful for the fact that over the last 6 years, we were able to spend 1.6 billion on the countermeasures in communities and elsewhere against the ANC's maladministration. Of this expenditure, 70%, that is 1.15 billion, was spent in local communities to improve safety, to fix roads, to make sure that we live in better places. Then 30% of our expenditure was regarding our watchdog function. That is probably what Afriforum is most well known for, is very important court cases and legal action. And a number of other campaigns that has an impact not only locally, but internationally.
I mean, why is it fair that you get to call out every single donation and every single rand, but no one's supposed to ask you about your mysterious skeletons? That question was asked months ago, by the way. News 24 has still not answered it. Not in this investigation, I can say. Not in any public statement, rather. Their parent company donates 8 million rand to the ANC. They investigate Afriforum's 1.6 billion rand in member donations over 5 years. One of those things is apparently a scandal, and the other one apparently requires absolutely zero disclosure or explanation whatsoever. In what universe is that fair? And then there's the refugee program, misrepresentation that keeps happening at News 24, that keeps happening at this publication. We have discussed this across multiple episodes. News 24 has repeatedly framed the American Refugee Settlement Program for South Africans as being exclusively for white South Africans or Afrikaners. The US Embassy updated its guidance to state that applicants must be members of a racial minority who can demonstrate past or feared future persecution. That includes colored people, Indian people, and other minority communities. It is not a whites-only program. There are colored and other minority race South Africans who are part of this refugee program. And News 24 knows this. Their own reporting has acknowledged the update. And then the next article frames it as whites-only again. They do the nonsense again as if they haven't seen anything. Is this still journalism making honest mistakes anymore? Because to me, this is nothing but a publication with a documented pattern of framing specific communities and organizations in the most inflammatory way possible, while protecting its parent company's political and financial relationships from the same scrutiny it applies to its opponents.
The question people might ask is, how is all this funded? Well, we are very thankful that we have overwhelming public support. We have approximately 300,000 supporters that feel strongly that we have to create a future. And then, of course, they give donations and contributions. We are proud that individuals fund 95% of Afriforum's operations. That shows that you don't have to be a big corporate, you don't have to have a big state, you just have to have normal people that want a future, to create a future for their children, and that each gives a small amount, and it leads to a situation that we can really do big things. Our income is not a secret. We receive on average 22.6 million per month. This is, of course, a very significant amount. But what changes if you have to start providing services that should have been provided by the state?
I think I told you the story the other day. I was looking at these. I have them printed out because it's nice to have something solid in front of you. And I looked at them, had to go take a walk around downstairs of our building, come back, looked at it again, went for another walk, looked at it again, then told you about it because I was just so, it just didn't make sense to me. I had to go back and double and triple check this. And yeah, I mean, it's sort of one of those strange situations in journalism where sometimes you're confronted with situations that you know aren't necessarily logical.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make, and this did not make sense. Just give us a brief overview of the story that we published on Sunday and what the findings were.
In 2013, Afriforum, through an investment broker, deposited 3 million rand for investment activities in JSE listed companies, etc. And this broker utilized Thebe Stockbroking.
Kyle Cohen is a genuinely talented investigative journalist for News 24. I mean, come on, his work on the Gupta leaks was chef's kiss. It was important and it was necessary, and it changed this country, especially how it viewed that Gupta situation. But the editorial choices being made about which targets receive his talent and which targets receive his silence are choices that News 24's ownership structure has a direct interest in. And South Africans deserve to know that when they read the next Afriforum investigation News 24 article, it's not true, it is a lie. Just like how the refugee program one was a lie.